Hi everyone. So, wow, the chaos in the world has just recently jumped up to a whole new level now, hasn't it? I'm sure you're feeling it. It's like electricity in the air, just kind of flickering, and maybe at times causing a sensation of deep anxiety in your gut. Or maybe you experience spasms of grief that just take you over from time to time, or periods of rage that claim you for a bit. And when you stop for a moment and tune in, you can maybe feel that something even bigger and more ominous may be building out in the world, just waiting to somehow explode. Of course, we've been reading and hearing about the increase of violence in the world for some time now. Mainly if we've been following what's been occurring in Ukraine, but also in a great number of other countries across the world as well, right? There are those saying that there are over 20 wars being fought in the world at this point. It's unbelievable. But somehow, what's been happening in the Middle East seems to be affecting all of us in a very particular way. And especially if you're an empath, and if you're listening to this, you probably are, you've likely on some level been feeling the pain and grief of those directly experiencing the violence and death there. You just can't avoid it. You're connected, right? And then, of course, to make things even worse, you're probably also realizing that most people in the world have now divided into one camp or the other about this war. And they're fighting, which is something that always happens with wars. Division and conflict and hatred are now increasing everywhere, with people picking sides, thinking one country is right and the other is wrong. One group of people are the oppressors, the others the victims. Protesters on both sides are now being arrested. People are being threatened or beat up due to their beliefs. Now, hopefully, you are wise enough to realize that the people causing the war on both sides are the same group of people, right? That they're all part of the deep state that has always caused wars and then financed both sides of them. Hopefully you're aware that it's not generally the populations of either country that are starting the wars. Although, of course, there are people who do get caught into them due to the horrendous losses that they've suffered in the wars. But hopefully you make the distinction between people living in a country and their governments. You realize that it's their corrupt governments who are starting the wars, that both of the populations are being attacked by the same war machine that is running both their governments. And hopefully you realize that the same group of elites who have started and are perpetuating this new war is the same group that has finally failed to keep the Ukraine war going. It's their new war to keep their depopulation agenda going. So blaming either the Israelis or the Palestinians, like so many people are doing, is just totally missing the point. They're both being attacked by the same elite group that has kept wars going all over the planet for centuries, for thousands of years, really, especially in that particular part of the world. At any rate, with all this happening, as well as a number of other truly scary things happening in the US and other countries all around the world, you're maybe experiencing grave doubt at this point that anything could be moving forward in the world toward the new earth, the 5D reality that we all yearn to create and experience. You may wonder, how can anything good come out of all of this? it truly seems like we're heading toward the end of the world. And this doubt is totally understandable, especially if you also continue to experience despair and anxiety about what is happening at the same time in your own personal life as well, which many of us are. So, what's the answer to all this? How can we handle it and not feel so helpless and hopeless? What can we do to first of all find a balance within us to experience a greater calm? And then also a reassurance that all truly is still going in the direction we're yearning for it to go in. Well, first of all, as always, I encourage you to do your best to shift up into the higher picture of what's going on here. And remember that before a new and positive reality that we call 5D can truly be created, all of this darkness that has existed on Earth for eons of time and that is now emerging into greater view needs to first be fully seen and understood and then cleared. We need to remember that we're living in what's been called the transitional times. The times between the period of thousands of years in which humanity has been caught in a dark, controlled reality called the third dimension, and the period which has been called the fifth dimension, a period of time in which humanity will be free to live in prosperity and peace, focused on love and freedom and cooperation. And this period of time we're in has also been called the in-between times. As you probably know, this transition to a whole new, higher frequency era in humanity's history is not just some kind of spiritual hopium that somebody created at some point. It's something that has long been predicted by many prophets across the world for centuries, which you can find within a whole variety of religious and spiritual texts, as well as in the wisdom that has been passed down by a multitude of indigenous tribes across the world for many centuries. And it's a matter of huge cycles that take place in this universe. And at the point of the cycle that we're now in on Earth, we are passing from one long age, or yuga, of profound suffering into one of great freedom and love. It's a time when all the old corrupt institutions and criminal activities are brought to light, as they all begin to collapse, and a great amount of unrest and chaos always occurs. It's said that this same transition happens about every 25,000 years. And it's being discussed even by certain scientists now, who recognize these huge cycles that the Earth and humanity have passed through throughout the millennia. So, once you remember this, that we're in this tumultuous in-between period of time in which all the darkness is arising, both within us and within the world at large, in order to be seen and cleared out and eliminated, it can give you some perspective, right? You can find yourself floating above the chaos and seeing a much longer trajectory of time, and how so much is dying and collapsing in order that newer and clearer and freer energies can begin to create a new reality here. Of course, it's dreadful what's happening. It's horrific, painful in so many ways. And yet, you can realize that, of course, this period of transition would have to be chaotic and scary. and violent. There's just so much that needs to be cleared out. And there's obviously going to be a powerful pushback against all this movement to clear it out. And probably for a while yet. And so, as so many have pointed out, in the deepest sense, this is a profound spiritual war that we're all involved in at this point. But you need to remember, too, that the earth is also rising very quickly in frequency, as is the portion of humanity that is destined to shift into the fifth dimension with it. So these dark times are limited. They will eventually fade and then end as the new age really begins to dawn, as it always has, evidently, over and over again in our long history. So it can be helpful in staying calm to just remember this, right? This is what's happening on a much higher level. It's still awful, but you can understand it better. It makes sense. It doesn't feel quite so hopeless. And then there's another thing you can do. Something you can focus on that can also be helpful. And that is to tune into the realization that you, as a soul, have come here on earth during these very times to be part of this momentous transition. You can discover that you have deep within you the spirit of a spiritual warrior who is powerful and courageous and knows how to make it through these kinds of times. In fact, you've likely been part of this kind of operation before, in other lifetimes, in other earlier civilizations on Earth, or in other parts of the universe, in other ages. These memories may be arising within you at this point, a sense that you've done this before. It's familiar somehow. And you can realize that you are ready to do whatever you can to also help other people make it through these times ahead into the new age of light. In one way, you're developing necessary traits and skills to do just this. But in another, you're really just remembering and rediscovering them. They are re-emerging within you now, readying you for what you are here to do. You can just feel into yourself for a moment. Can you feel this new strength and determination and power that's slowly emerging within you? A deep knowing that you are here as a part of a team that can help lead people into greater awakening and freedom. Even if you have no idea at this point what specifically you have to offer this team, if you're not aware of any extraordinary traits or talents or skills you have, know that you will likely discover them as time goes on in the next couple of years when they are needed. And you will also realize that simply your presence on the planet at this time, just the spiritual frequency and awareness you hold, are extraordinarily powerful. I can't emphasize this enough. The natural and profound love you hold, that you may just take for granted in yourself, is extremely potent in affecting those around you, and also in impacting the future of the collective. See if you can trust this. It's the power of this love that is going to turn things around in the end. It's what is already helping to wake people up and find the same love within themselves. And in fact, it's love that I really want to talk about here. Because there's a very simple practice I'd like to describe that you might like to try that can really bring in a greater feeling of calm and peace, as well as a sense of empowerment within you. It involves calling in what I just call pure source love, and then absorbing it into your being, and then sending it out into the world. Now, it's somewhat similar to the Buddhist practice of Tonglen, if you're familiar with this, and that it involves using the breath. But it's different in that it doesn't involve breathing in suffering of any kind. Let me just describe it here, and you can see what you think. So, you first of all just become aware of your breath, just breathing in and out. And then, with your in-breath, you begin to consciously breathe in the love that comes directly from Source. I know you know this love, right? Very different from the usual human emotional experience of love. Although there is a deep emotional aspect you could experience with it. But this love is the divine essence of Source itself, that you are naturally connected to. It flows as a powerful force within you. Now, until very recent times, the connection to this love in most people has been at least partially blocked. But now, with the rise in frequency that's occurring on the planet, this connection to Source is opening and strengthening within us, and it's possible to access this love much more easily now by just focusing on it. So, you start out by just breathing this Source love in a nice deep breath. And you feel it entering into your chest, your lungs, and your heart. And then, with the out-breath, you just allow your body to absorb it. You breathe it in, and then feel the love enter into every cell in your body and be fully absorbed by it. You can just try it here now, maybe with a couple of breaths. Just breathe it in, and then let your body absorb it. It can feel so good to just do this. You can see that your body just drinks it in. And then, maybe after a number of breaths like this, and feeling your whole body taking it in, if there's a certain part of your body that's in pain, or that's experiencing an illness, then, with your out-breath, you can direct it to flow into that part of your body. You just breathe in the love, and then let that part of your body absorb it. Very simple. And if you're doing this, you can just do it for a few minutes and just see what happens to that part of your body. And then, after absorbing it into your body for a few minutes, you may begin to feel that your body has now filled up with this love. It's fully absorbed it all. And so you begin feeling it flowing into your other bodies as well. Your emotional body, your mental body, your spiritual body. You feel them absorbing the love. Your entire field of being is filling with it. And you can also, at any point, decide to direct it into your mind. Like if your mind is really busy, or your thoughts are painful or boring, you can consciously breathe the love into your mind. And you'll see that the love just kind of takes over, flooding your mind, flushing out all your thoughts. Your mind just becomes a field of this source love. Maybe give this a whirl. Sometimes you have to have several breaths to have this sensation, but you just keep focusing it, bring it in to your mind, and just see what happens to your thoughts. And in the same way, if, say, you're experiencing negative emotions that keep holding a grip on you no matter what you do, you can direct the love into these emotions and experience a sense of calm and relief as your emotions absorb the love. In doing all of this, you can begin to feel how your frequency is rising. You feel lighter, calmer, more positive, more powerful, centered, grounded. So you can direct it in different ways in your body, right? Different parts of your body, or to your emotions, to your mind, and just see and feel the light all around you in your field, just rising and rising. And then at some point, as you continue the breathing, maybe, say after 5 minutes or so, you'll probably begin to feel as if you have absorbed the love fully into all of who you are. And you realize that as you continue to breathe it in, it's beginning to overflow outside of yourself. And so when this occurs, you then have the opportunity to direct it to where you'd like it to go out in the world. And this can be to a particular person who needs help, or to a world situation like the Middle East, or wherever you feel drawn to direct it. You just keep focused on it. And it can be helpful at some times if your mind starts wandering to just say with the in-breath, just say the word pure, and with the out-breath, say love, so that you're just saying pure love or source love with each breath. And just keep absorbing it, keep feeling yourself taking it in, soaking it in. And then, meanwhile, as you continue on with your day, say after you've done this for a while, you can continue to feel yourself filled with this source love. You can be aware of it flooding your field and pouring out into all the spaces you move through, flowing into people you pass by or stop to interact with. And with every breath, you can continue to breathe in more love, absorb it, and then breathe it out all around you until it just continues to naturally radiate from you out into the world. It's an amazing feeling. And it's something you can do when you're just kind of waiting, a few minutes for someone to arrive or for something to start. You can do it with your eyes open or closed. You just focus on your breath, call in the source love, and absorb it. And just feel yourself rising, getting clearer, freer. And if you do this practice enough, it eventually becomes a habit you remember when you really need to do it. Even doing it just 10 minutes a day can create a habit. It can be like a new spiritual practice, so that you will remember it when you really need to do it. So in a way, this is no surprise, right? I mean, love is always the answer, isn't it? It's what we always come back to. It's love that heals, love that brings wholeness, peace, joy, togetherness. And this source love that is now increasingly available to us is so very powerful. So hopefully these suggestions are helpful for you during these times. I think we can sense that things will probably get even more intense in the world for a while. So we, with our love and our strength and power, are really going to be needed more and more. And so knowing how to keep calm and stay in love and direct it out into the world is more important than ever now. So let's just keep doing this in whatever way we do it and see what happens. And for now, I send much love to you as we continue on doing what we're all here to do. Many, many blessings to you.